who ring his exit from Madison Square Garden from the surface and back to his dressing room as we await the entrance of an Olympic gold medalist and a man who might be the most skilled of the Olympians, as Pernell Whitaker will be next up. And he'll be taking on Farrain, who is an undefeated young Texan. Pernell Whitaker, a lot of people feel, will be the first of the gold medalists to become a world champion. They think he is that skilled as he makes his way into the ring at Madison Square Garden. And yesterday, on the eve of his professional debut, I talked with Pernell Whitaker of Norfolk, Virginia, about his pro debut.
That's not a lot of pressure because I still think back, this fight is something like the finals of the Olympics. You know, all the people were there chatting, USA, and the garden, everybody's going to be there cheering us on, and it's going to be close to 22,000 people there cheering, saying my name or, you know, cheering for me. So that's going to make me fight a little harder and, you know, perform a little better.
Pernell Whitaker, the strains of the Olympic victory celebrations echoing in the background as he makes his way into the ring. It's called a night of gold. That's how it's been billed. And the challengers, the fellas who haven't gotten very much publicity because they have been thrust into the ring against the Olympic champions, have labeled themselves the Gold Busters. Well, so far, none of the challengers has been a Gold Buster, as Virgil Hill scored a second-round win. Mildred Taylor came out and scored a first-round technical knockout. And we just saw Evander Holyfield go the distance, go 6 rounds. And he, too, has won in his pro debut. So you have Whitaker, Biggs, and Mark Breland still to come. Ed Darian, the ring announcer, is introducing the combatants. Pernell Whitaker, and there is Farrain Comeaux, who is 24 years old. He will be 24 next week. He comes from the town of Nederland, Texas, which is near Beaumont. He has been a pro now since 1982. He has a record of 10-0, yet he has really not fought a class opponent to this point. He's been basically a club fighter. All of his fights have been in the Houston, Beaumont area. Tail of the tape, as you can see, Comeaux 24 next week. Whitaker weighed in at 134.5 today. Height about the same, and a distinct reach advantage for Pernell Whitaker. Southpaw who can counterpunch, he can lead. He is a good defensive fighter. Very, very stylish. And in boxing parlance, some have referred to him as a cutie. Crowd cheering the introduction of Pernell Pete Whitaker. Born, raised, and still makes his home in Norfolk, Virginia.
Knocked out in 1 round to terminate the fight. And you know the belt I gave you except for the last round. When I say break, I want you both to step back and break clean. Is that clearly understood? Take care now, and God bless you both.
Voice of referee Joe Santarpia. He has no voice in the scoring. Again, to review, the 3 judges at ringside, Harold Letterman, Tony Castellano, and Bernie Friedkin, do the scoring by round here in New York. And again tonight, as Chris pointed out in the Holyfield fight, they're working with a thumbless glove. Pernell Whitaker and Farrain Comeaux. Comeaux with a chance to establish himself. That's one thing to keep in mind on a night when the Olympians are trying to make impressive debuts. The opponents, basically club fighters for the most part, in the spotlight for the first time ever, and what it can do for their career to pull off an upset. Madison Square Garden in New York. Scheduled for 6 rounds. Good left hand landing, but Comeaux responds by moving Whitaker into the corner. Whitaker was never really challenged during the Olympic Games, had clear sailing on his way to the title. normally trade punches with you. So he can, as we say, counterpunch. Very, very quick. Good lateral and backward movements. Escaping the thrust of Comeaux. And Whitaker extremely poised. It's in evidence early here in the first round. Little combination with a good body punch. Missing with the left there, but that little right hand got inside. Comeaux's face beginning to redden just a bit here in the first round. By Whitaker, Comeaux taking punishment. Another left, a good left. Whitaker trying to work underneath. Whitaker with a good right hand to the side of Comeaux's head. Followed by another left. Comeaux somehow withstanding the pressure and staying right in there with him with a minute to go now in the first round. 1 minute remaining in round one. A lot of punishment being dealt out by Whitaker. Comeaux trying to counter, but it's all Whitaker at this point. Comeaux completely outclassed at this point. A lot of guts trying to weather the round, and that may be no easy task. That's flicking right by Whitaker. A good boxing lesson by Pernell, as he gave during most of the Olympics to all of his opponents. 25 seconds remaining now in round one. The only mystery in this round is can Comeaux last it? Whitaker working up top and going to the body. Under 10 seconds again. You can't be saved by the bell except in the final round. 3 seconds remaining in the first round. And Comeaux still in it.
This buzz for everyone in the spotlight before the show begins. Hey, just for you, that distinctive...
Going to last very much longer as we start the second round. Whitaker hardly missing a punch in round one. Extremely impressive in his professional debut. Similar first round to that experienced by Mildred Taylor, who early on won on a first-round KO. Again, Comeaux has to withstand an early barrage here from Whitaker. Another left hand. Not too many raps against Whitaker coming in as he makes the transition from amateur to pro. Some think that he maybe showboated a little bit too much in his amateur career, had a tendency occasionally to turn his back on his opponent. Some question as to whether he can withstand a good punch, something that's hard off times to detect throughout an amateur career. But we've seen no showboating, no back turning tonight. And Comeaux's been able to really not unload anything at all that Whitaker's had to withstand. It's been all Pernell. A little slower pace now here in the early stages of the second round. Scheduled for 6. Again, the left hand gets inside. Again, a combination by Whitaker. Comeaux, he's very game, but unable to mount any attack at all. You'll notice Comeaux seems to be doing a pretty decent job of holding his hands up and protecting himself, but that doesn't deter Whitaker. He just goes right in there. Comeaux not moving his head, and Whitaker's been able to get through that defense. Under a minute remaining now in the second round. Career. 201 wins, 13 losses, 91 knockouts, and all of those are scheduled for 3. He's looking for a knockout in his pro debut. Landing punch after punch with 20 seconds remaining now in the second round. Comeaux really staggered, thinks another left hand. This may do it, and that will do it. The referee, Joe Santarpia, ends it in the second round. Unofficially, the 250 mark. Very game was Comeaux, but that's all, as it's all Whitaker from the opening bell. Pernell Pete Whitaker. Some echoes of Los Angeles as some of the crowd begins to chant USA, USA. A little slow-mo action. You can go back and pretty much re-rack the tape to any point in this fight to get a very good idea as to the damage that Whitaker inflicted. The left was particularly adept in round one. The combinations in round two, he kept penetrating the defense. Never any question from the opening bell. Another slow-mo look as Pernell Whitaker, who I say is expected by so many as you look at the left, to become the first of the Olympians, and another staggering left right there in round two. The first of the Olympians to win a professional boxing title. Has done nothing to dissuade those thoughts